Round 1 we are on the play, and I really like this hand. Of course not going to mulligan, and yeah, we have a very good curve, we have our splash. We don't have the second green yet, but that shouldn't be a big deal. And we can curve out with the Dagger Dome Imp into decoy, hopefully drawing something else to play, of course. But this Giant Growth already looks pretty good as well. We even have a Guild Gate, which is very good if we draw a Jailbreaker. A 3-drop would be amazing here, but sadly we don't draw one. But of course the Jailbreaker is very powerful as well, especially against Selesnya, which does have a lot of 3/3s. I don't want to see Sell-Off Songbirds here. Well, I certainly didn't want to see Loxodon Smiter either, but Sell-Off Songbirds would have been a very good stop to our plan. I like the Jailbreaker more here. It gives me more power on the board. It matches the Smiter, which I can't block if he attacks because of the blowout potential of all his combo tricks. But if I untap and then have Giant Growth available, I might actually be the one blowing him out. And he doesn't even attack, leaving open 4, which could mean a whole lot of things, including Ice in the Skies and so on. I also don't want to lose to Combon, but I have the Giant Growth, so if he tries to get me with that, I can Giant Growth. Then I just lose to something like Giant Growth and Combon, but I'm willing to risk that. I think it's fine to attack here because I'm drawing quite a lot of lands and I want to be as aggressive as possible. He doesn't block and just takes 5, which is interesting. So maybe he's the one that's scared of combo tricks now. I actually don't really want to tell him that I have a Giant Growth in my hand, and I don't see myself casting it during his turn. Now, that might be wrong, but if I leave up a green with Rakdos Guildgate in play, then I basically telegraph the Giant Growth very, very clearly. So I'm not going to do that. He's playing some interesting cards here. Avenging Arrow, Gobbling Ooze, not really what I expect out of a good Selesnya deck, but he dealt with Ogre Jailbreaker that way, which explains why he took all the damage. It's not one of the Selesnya instants I'm usually all that aware of. Now this can grow, and we drew a Crocodile, which is pretty good. I almost want my decoy to die because scavenging onto Dagger Dome, Imp, or Stonefire Crocodile could be very, very good, but I'm not willing to just use my Giant Growth to get a Gobbling Ooze. I think we can do better than that. The question is if I'm under too much pressure though, because with the Crocodile I can't really block all that well. So let's see, if I attack with the decoy and Giant Growth it, I deal with his Gobbling Ooze and I play the Stonefire Crocodile. It also means that he won't be able to block next turn because I can just swing with the decoy and activate the Stonefire Crocodile even if I don't draw anything. Now that doesn't look too bad. The alternative is getting hit for 7 without a good block. I could block with Stonefire Crocodile, and if he doesn't sacrifice, we trade these. And if he does, then I could blow him out with the Giant Growth. But it's actually, I don't know how likely it is that he actually wants to sacrifice a creature into the Gobbling Ooze just to deal with the Crocodile. I also have the option of double blocking something, like the Gobbling Ooze, and that should entice him to play either a combat trick or sacrifice a creature, maybe when he plays before combat, which could also prove to be quite good. Yeah, I think I like that best. So even if I lose the decoy, I still have the scavenge ability, and it's very possible that the decoy makes it impossible for him to play some of the cards in his hand. Not sure about this line, but I think we are fine here. It's kind of difficult to play against Selesnya because you can be almost sure that your combat tricks are going to be somewhat weaker than theirs, or they are going to have more combat tricks available to them. Okay, only the Smiter is attacking, so I think we just take another 4 here. We have gained quite some life with the help of Daggerdrome Imp, and we can definitely attack for more life gain damage. Interestingly enough, he decided to just pass the turn. He could have a Trostani's Judgment. So the question is, once again, do I attack with everything? Do I attack with Daggerdrome and Stonefair Crocodile? Or do I attack only with the Daggerdrome? I think these are the realistic options. Now, if he doesn't play anything and he blocks the decoy with his Ooze, I'm forced to Giant Growth, which would be pretty bad if he just Trostani's Judgments then. So I would like to attack with a Crocodile, but if he blocks it with Gobbling Ooze, I'm almost forced to play one of my Giant Growths, which is good against any kind of trick he could have, but of course once again bad against Trostani's Judgment. So it's really not that easy. I might actually just want to attack with both and allow him to kill the decoy with his Gobbling Ooze to play around Trostani's Judgment. Alternatively, I just attack with the Daggerdrome Imp again and see what he plays first, giving me more information. But I'm probably missing out on some damage that way. The question is, if he doesn't play anything and blocks the decoy with his Ooze, do I risk running into Trostani's Judgment by Giant Growthing my decoy? Because then if he has the Judgment, I'm basically dead. He still has both of his creatures and I have only the weak life linkers, but not the scavenge ability on the decoy. So that's what I'm really afraid of. 6 mana also telegraphs Trostani's Judgment pretty clearly here. I think I can't risk it. I'm just going to attack with Daggerdrome Imp and hold back. If he has Trostani's Judgment, he's almost forced to play it this turn because of mana considerations. I don't think he can afford to just untap and keep it up again. On the other hand, he might do exactly that because now he only took 1 damage. I still think this is giving me a better shot overall. I'm also not that far away of just killing him with double Giant Growth once he taps out, so that's another option. It's also possible, but not likely, that he's completely flooded. which might be the reason he's not playing anything. But with these draws, I'm actually happy how things are going, so no reason to overreact. Okay, at least he's dropping lands every turn and only attacking for 4, which I'm basically negating with the early Daggerdrome Imp. So he has a healer, but he taps out of Tristani's Judgment mana, which is a very important information here. I'm just going to continue with the flying beatdown. I think there's almost no way for me to lose with the cards I have. But I also don't want to risk to run into too many of his spells. I could use a Giant Growth here to get rid of the Smiter, but that just grows his Gobbling Ooze, and I want him to deplete his hand before making a move. Okay, that's a move. So I might have been right in my assessment of the decoy playing a very important role of stranding the Guild Mage in his hand, because he didn't just want to play it and lose it immediately. So now I'm of course attacking with everything and putting the Guild Mage first with, let's say, the healer second or the ooze second. No, the ooze second is fine. So now I could kill him with double Giant Growth, but I don't see a reason to do so before he uses his mana. If this resolves, I think we are doing very fine. The least thing he wants to do is to make a Centaur with the Guild Mage, which would cost him 6. And if he does, then we can probably go for the kill. Okay, he calm bonds instead, which is interesting. So we can certainly let that resolve. Now, that means if I Giant Growth my decoy, we kill only the Guild Mage, basically. If I double Giant Growth the decoy, then no, that doesn't make much of a difference. Then we kill the Guild Mage and the Gobbling Ooze, but we are still pretty dead to certain cards he could have. Like if he has a removal spell for the Crocodile, for example, if he has an ultimate price, then it's bad either way. But I think he would have ultimate priced the decoy far earlier, or at least before blockers are declared. So I think with the Combond gone from his hand, we might want to go for the kill here, given that we have both of these imps to still get us there if all fails. So this is 5 plus 6. Yeah, I think we can do that. We don't want to have his Guild Mage grow out of hand. And that's it. He has a Vidogazi Guild Mage, Avenging Arrow, Calm Bond, and a Smiter, but we are not boarding in Mind Rot, so I think that's fine. I always like Rubbleback Rhino against Selesnya decks. The 3/4 is usually the size you want against them. And hexproof doesn't hurt, even though it's not amazing or anything. He could also bring in Deviantly. He has shown to not have that many ways to interact with our flyers, and he's much more likely to clog up the ground with the cards he has. Aerial Predation doesn't look like an amazing card here, so that's an easy cut. I like the Rhino here, and overall I would like to have more ways to deal with the Guild Mage. And one way to deal with the Guild Mage is certainly to just beat him down faster than he can make his centaurs. So Deviantly does look like a nice card to have here. Being able to put it on almost anything. The question is if we want the Trestle Troll. If he doesn't have any flyers, it's a good blocker in the early game against centaurs, but that's almost never going to win me the game. Also, his 4/4 smiter wasn't that big of a deal, so I think we can actually live without the defense against flyers and just play our regular game. I don't want to cut the Sewer Shambler because his cheap scavenge ability is going to be very important. We could bring in another flyer, but I think we are fine with the imps. Another very nice hand. Turn 3 Herald, turn 4 Decoy, maybe turn 5 Longlegs on the play actually, even better. So at some point we have to play the Guild Gate, of course, and I think we just do it on turn 1, giving us more options later. If we don't draw a 2-drop, we can drop the Herald on 2 anyway. Okay, we have to make a plan what to do against this Strider. We could block it with our 3/3 just to be rid of it. Alternatively, we can always block with the Herald first and then make a 3/3, giving him more of the options basically. Okay, he doesn't even attack here. We still make the token. And then we can decide how to continue. The Decoy doesn't look too bad actually. We can trade it with both of his creatures, and then we have a scavenge as soon as we hit a second green. But alternatively, we can just drop a Crocodile and have Longlegs next turn. Yeah, that's more reasonable. I could attack here, but I think I can trade my Centaur for his Brush Strider any day. This might be worse against cards like Combond, but I know that I can always block this with 3 power, so I'm not too scared. If he attacks with both, I would have played around Rootborn defenses, but I don't think that's necessary here. What we could have done is to take the damage, because having more creatures in play is going to be valuable with Golgari Decoy, but I don't think we can afford to do that. I kind of like our position. We are a little constrained on green mana, but this mountain would probably have been a swamp anyway, so that's not really the reason. Or we would have to play another green source. It's possible that we are not playing enough of them. So the Guild Mage is certainly not the card I want to see here, and it would have been much better if we had the Decoy in play already. But now we have to see what we can do about that. We could attack with the Longlegs into his Smiter, but that would only trade, and I want to keep the giant growth for the decoy. I think that's too vital, because we need to get rid of the guild mage. Now he still is going to get us a 3/3 centaur out of the deal, but that means that the long legs is going to be even more important. So I guess we just say go here. And if he wants to use his mana next turn for something which isn't making a centaur with the guild mage, then I'm also fine. So first question is, does he have a 6th land? Yes, he does. Second question is, does he attack with anything? Yeah, he probably doesn't want to block with his smiter or whatever, I don't know. So we could block here, but I think that we actually want to let it through, go down to 16. We have the Terrace Ram in hand, which dominates the smiter, and we have the long legs to dominate his 3 power creatures, so it would be a mistake to... Oh wow, Karasta Guildmage. That's going to be very good. Let's work on getting rid of that Guildmage first, though. If we drop the Guildmage, if we drop the Guildmage, we can give our decoy +1/+1. But that's not enough to kill both of his blockers. Now, if we could give it +4/+4, that would be amazing. But we are missing a green for that. So it's much more likely that we are just going to trade the decoy for his Guildmage, and then we leave open our Guildmage for its second ability. I think we just drop the Guildmage first, just to have all options available. And I'm not that interested in dealing damage with Stonedrag Crocodile. I think we are forced to play this a little more defensively, given our hand and this draw in particular. Still not attacking with anything else because we need the defense. And hopefully we can get a nice trade here. We also still have the option to just giant growth the decoy if he somehow decides to not make a centaur but try something like Common Bond instead. Don't think that's very likely, but... Okay, so he does in fact. But that's very interesting. So he decides to make his Guildmage a 3/3 and his Crocodile a 4/3, which means that an activation of Karasta Guildmage should still kill it, which I don't really quite understand. You would always want to have your Guildmage be a 4/4 in that spot. So that could mean that he has a giant growth still, but I don't quite get why you would play it like that. Now, given that this is 6 toughness, we don't really have a way to kill both with giant growth, so I'm just going to try to +1/+1 it to get rid of the Guildmage. I think it's our best shot. I definitely would have made this a 4/4 in his spot. I don't get this line of play. That's also an interesting attack. I think if he had another Common Bond, he would have attacked with both. But I'm willing to risk it. With our hand, I think we are fine as long as we keep Long Legs and Guildmage around. And if we block and he has something good, then he still has to use his mana. On the other hand, if we don't draw a land, having Giant Growth and the activation of the Crocodile and the Guild Mage available is also very, very powerful. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take another 4 here, gaining some more information on what he's up to. If he just gains some life, I'm very fine with that. And I don't run into a second common bond. So that's certainly not a bad draw, but I think we are forced to let him attack us in this spot. I want to keep open both Giant Growths. And now we should have very good blocks. We could use our Giant Growth here, keeping open the second ability on the Guild Mage, which is certainly better against Trostani's Judgment. If we use the Guild Mage's first ability, then he just Judgments and we have nothing. Yeah, I like that a little better. So it looks like this just resolves without him gaining any life. And he just concedes because the Guild Mage is too powerful, I guess. We would have an interesting decision here, whether to get ourselves 7 1/1s, and I think I would have done it, especially with the Giant Growth still in our hand, and then probably just attack with everything, depending on what he played. Don't know why he conceded there, but I guess Crossed Guild Mage isn't that much worse than Vido Gazi Guild Mage in this spot. Okay, let's see if we can continue winning.